Welcome to the BTP. Welcome to the Black Tower Podcast. Daniel, kick him in the nuts.
I don't want to do that. They were nice enough to come here and listen to us. That feels like a bad response. But you
Nuts,
know what I
nuts, kick
am
him in
gonna
the
do?
nuts, 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 kick him in the nuts, nuts,
I'm gonna
nuts,
welcome everybody
nuts.
to another exciting episode of the Black Tower Podcast, a
Ah,
Wheel of Time podcast. And when I see him next, I'm gonna kick Josh in the nuts because that's what happens
fair.
when you
I deserve
volunteer
it.
other
I
kids
deserve
to
it.
answer questions in class. You get to answer the questioning. I am one of your hopefully funny hosts, Daniel, your Amin Khan Mayo.
I'm your sometimes mentally stable, sometimes very much not stable at all other host, Andrew, your Bijan Mayo.
And I am your completely unhinged, hands on fire, buttons undone in my uniform, mad Soravan Mahale.
I thought you were going to say like butt just out in the air.
Butt just out in the air. Just, what's up?
Unhinged the
You
back
like-
flap
how
of
you
my
like my butt?
onesie and just got my butt
Just
up in there.
flapping in the wind.
Just butt
Booty
flaps.
cheeks and
That's what
dingleberries
it is.
flapping in the
Butt.
breeze. Like a shitty wind chime. Unintended.
Is that how? Our
A
friend
shit
got?
wind chime? Did you just say a shit wind
I said
chime?
shitty, but the pun is intended.
Is that how our friend got ass wings? Was your butt flapping in the breeze?
That thing was thinging, just flapping everywhere. It's like twerking, but instead of you using
Anyway.
your own muscles to make it happen, it's just the breeze just moving you in ways that defy science and physics.
Oh god. Oh god.
All right, guys, this is how we're starting today off. It's gonna be a problem.
Guys, we're excited.
Before anything else crazy happens, you should go to blacktowerpod.com. Check out all of the exciting things that are going on there. There's information about the Gathering Madness. There are photos from JordanCon. There will be photos from WattCon. Maybe not at the time that you go after this episode, but I mean, if you're listening to this a year after it's happened, I mean, there's definitely going to be photos from WattCon. There's all of our social medias, all of that stuff. There should be the last 5 episodes up of what we've done, which is pretty exciting because the last 5 episodes that we've done have gotten some solid views, which is very exciting for us. Go increase that because it's cool.
We're fucking stoked, guys.
Other than that, where
I sent
else
these guys
should
like a
they
whole
go?
screenshot, and I'm like, is my app just wigging out, or is this what this stuff looks like? And
Oh yeah,
the chances that it was both apps wigging out for 2 people on opposite, almost literally opposite corners of the country, astronomical. Not improbable, but it's improbable.
not improbable. Well, it's also interesting because, of course, I think that Andrew looked at it on the actual page, like the BTP page, and I looked at it from my other account. So, like, it was 2 different places to get to it. So it was like, hey, just in case the app is wigging out and it doesn't like our account and it's like doing something weird, let me go see from another place.
Actually, I don't know.
So yeah,
because I looked at
was
it
very
first on the Studio app, of which I'm only signed into as us. And then I looked at it from like actually on YouTube because I've seen the Studio app be wrong before.
Yes.
But what is also fun now is
Indeed.
every week I get this nice little like thing like, oh, check out your analytics from this week, and it's like a little slideshow that's like, here's how many views and everything else that you got. Hey, here's 3 videos. Which one do you think has the most views now? Like it's pretty neat. Like if you don't have, especially you, Josh, since you're doing the editing, you're the editing bitch. I mean, Mahale, get the studio out, dude. It's actually pretty sweet. So, but speaking of other sweet things, as you're listening to this live, and it's rare we get to say that you'll be listening. The episode we're recording on a Tuesday, you will all publicly be able to be listening to on the following Friday. As this is out, probably later today, as you're listening to this in public, or publicly in public. Hopefully, I mean at your own risk. Do what you want. We will be doing a.
I mean, Josh was naked flapping in the breeze a moment ago, so rules don't mean anything.
We will be doing a live recording at WatCon. I'm going to say recording for now because there's no guarantee that it will be streamed, but it is not guaranteed that it won't be streamed. So,
correct.
Depends on how things look there, but that's where we're going to record another episode to get us caught back up. That episode we record Friday at WatCon, barring technical difficulties and beyond shit tier audio, will be out the following Friday, but it'll be out sometime early that week, probably, depending on lag from traveling for you patrons. So yeah, as you're watching this publicly, you know, we're at WatCon. Hopefully you have your virtual membership and then you can watch us, because all 3 of your boys here are on panels.
Is true.
And
to get you guys excited, your boy, your Amin-Khan Mahale, is going to be on the Taviran in Other Stories and the Horrorgens.
This
HORR,
they have already been
not WHOR.
Anyone listening to this has already been to WatCon.
That is true.
We're behind. We don't have an episode in the docket to release this Friday.
Nope. The episode we're going to be doing next Friday is going to be the episode at WatCon.
Oh, so that'll release. Oh, well.
Yes.
Hopefully, if you're watching this publicly
so
now,
we are so strung out and hungover from the beautiful, amazing that is WatCon.
Yeah.
I definitely put the dates on incorrectly. Then.
Yeah, I also definitely
fix that.
I don't think we got to fix the dates on our recording schedule because shit happened.
Yeah, would one of you guys get on? Who's the spreadsheet bitch? I mean, the spreadsheet.
But I think Daniel is on
I'm
it.
working on it right now.
You know, if you change like 2 or 3
right now,
you can, or that aren't like colored pink like we do, you can like highlight both of them and then drag the little corner dot down, and it will automatically update every other field below it.
Yes, Nils, you have, and you loved it. You thought it was awesome.
Fun fact.
If you want to be on our live chat, you know what you got to do. You got to be a patron for less than $1 a month if you sign up for the annual plan, or if you want to pay monthly, that's cool too. $1 a month. You can be a member of the Black Tower family.
Oh.
Because as we know in the books, everyone is welcome at the Black Tower.
So,
mothers, fathers, children, aunts, and dogs.
Those were the 2 panels that
definitely dog
that Daniel was on, barring any issues.
Yes, I was on Taviran and Other Stories and Horrorgens, and they went amazing. I won one of my panels, definitely without fail. The other one was rigged.
Josh, you're on.
It was
you're
rigged.
on 2 as well, aren't you? And you're moderating 1.
I am also on 2 panels.
Which
I am
ones
on
were
the
you on
best
this last weekend, sir?
I was on the best Beltane ever, and it was great. It was a bloodbath. 10 out of 10 would do it again. I was also on Watt Ones, where I destroyed the bowels and anus of the Editor Reborn and Kevin. Trolloc Nipple Kevin. Which Trolloc Nipple Kevin deserved it. Okay?
Did he know?
Go back and watch that panel, yes.
And if you didn't know that Josh's taint sauce is amazing, I think it's also, or excuse me, was also up as like a reward for another panel.
It still is amazing.
No, I was saying like it was because I believe your sauce is
it was good as a reward,
and it
is
for one of the panels. And with the power of editing, the person named blank won it. Congratulations. Whatever.
Now I need to do that, and I need to like put
It's
out
very
the
mono,
sound and
like
say that.
what is it like Windows.
Give me a longer blank though. Give me a longer blank. With the power of editing,
The person known as
congratulations to
Hey!
the person known as
Won the panel.
won the hot sauce. Congratulations.
there it is.
Congratulations
on winning that. Taint Sauce, Taint 2.0, Electric Boogaloo, Taint 2, Electric Boogaloo. I'm going to start. I've had a request to start theming the sauces. So 2024 sauce will have a theme to it. We'll see.
And I did 2 panels that were both, I think they were shenaniganry, because they were both well designed to keep me from being able to actually talk about the things I don't like from season 1. To a degree. We'll see. So one panel was season 1, 1 year later.
Season 1, episodes 1 through 6, and season
episodes 1 through 6 and the first half of 7. That's it. That's all.
Right.
So I did one that was season 1, 1 year later, so that one was super fun. Just talking about different things and how our opinions have changed since season 1 came out. More than a year ago. Technically.
Yes, more than a year ago.
But close enough.
Almost 2 years ago, once this second season comes out.
And then the other panel was iconic moments, mostly from season 1. I think there was. It could have also included book 1, but I think if I remember correctly, everybody went with TV show season 1 moments, and there might have possibly been some season 2 teaser trailer moments in there. Yeah. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. They don't necessarily preclude.
I don't know. I feel like the shitty Trolloc animation or CGI is actually pretty iconic. So you could talk about it.
Although the worst part is,
you would.
Whenever you do have different opinions about things, but then like people ask why, and you're like, about that, I can't necessarily tell you why. Not because we have some super secret information, but the reasons why some of my viewpoints changed
as long as
that I was asked not to share, and I will leave it at that.
That's fair. Indeed.
I think so long as you're respectful about it, you can make critiques, and you can say you didn't like things. I will make no qualms about it. I don't like that they made Egwene and Nynaeve ta'veren. I don't like it.
And I fucking do. I think it's fantastic.
Great.
Yep. And that's literally on this show. We have differing opinions. But
we will bring receipts.
Josh is respectful about the series in general, and therefore I am not mad that he doesn't think they should be ta'veren, and that he is annoyed that the show did the thing. It is a critique for well thought out reasons that I simply disagree with, and I know that he.
And we will get to that.
You like me because I'm a dick about.
As far as he knows, I respect that theory as well.
Like I think Batman at the
end. And we're gonna do episode breakdowns.
You think anything else, and I will tell you to your face, you're fucking stupid. Batman was
dumb.
The best part about it.
And we're gonna do episode breakdowns.
Exaggeration.
And you know what? We're gonna go balls deep in those episode breakdowns. And I'm saying right now, gentlemen, I'm calling it now. No holds barred. When we do those episode I want us to have hard hitting critique, but I want to bring receipts. Like I want to be the first one to talk about the good and the bad while remaining respectful and bringing receipts. That's what I want.
And again,
because I've seen a lot of people offer critiques of the show that are like, this is bullshit because and it's like, okay, so the show doesn't match your headcanon for how people look in the Wheel of Time.
There's also people that do that.
Okay.
They swear everything is an absolute masterpiece about the show and there's no room for
Yes. Yes, I
You know
want to
what you
give it.
both
And
are?
so
You're
Rafe,
both
Sarah,
extremists, and you shouldn't be that because
Yep.
that is
Yosha,
disgusting. Don't be an
Daniel,
extremist.
Kate,
Fucking
Madeline,
weirdos.
all of
Yes.
you who are watching. I know you guys all watch us, and I
Can
appreciate
You can
we
only be an
can we
extremist
stop
if you're
for a
an
moment
extreme
and just
fan.
appreciate? Can we just appreciate the fact that like those are now the two things that we need? Like everybody knows the classic just rule number 1, don't be a dick.
Yeah.
Can we have rule number 2, just don't be an
Don't be a
extremist?
blind, absolute follower just because of whatever reason. Yeah. Like, hey, you know
So
that thing?
I'm actually gonna
You know
harp
that
on
thing?
this for one more
Moderation.
minute.
Find somewhere like comfortably and logically in between. Somewhere like
who is this moderation, and why does everybody think I should
because
drink with
if
it?
your whole metric is no, I think the Trollocs in episode 8 look incredible. I have concerns.
Yes. So I actually really will also want to take a moment and harp on this. I know that we should be getting into the episode, and I will not take a lot of time. I work at a very large corporate company. And there are lots of people who suck. Just in general. There are lots of people who suck. They are not looking out for their fellow people. They are not looking out for the company. They are not looking out for the guests. The guests are not looking out for anybody. Like, again, there's so many people who are just not looking out, right? And that is not cool. But there are a lot of people that I've met who just want to complain about the things that are happening. Offer no solutions, offer no possibility as a new way to do things, offer no solution to themselves, and by that I mean like not just a solution for the company of like, hey, wouldn't it be better if we as a company did this, but also like my mindset is garbage and I'm unwilling to change. And you're like, okay, cool, maybe think about your mindset in general, because I'm sure it's hurting in other ways other than just here at work. But that's just my opinion, and I'm just going to drink my tea quietly over here. But like, again, it's sort of that idea where I look at this as so much of an opportunity, because
I fucking hate you.
because look, there is complaining and there is critiquing, and those are not the same thing.
We are not the same.
Complaining is saying that something is bad with no solution, no receipts, and no good reason. And a lot of complaining can often be put into your mindset of you having bad expectations for something. Like, again, when you go into the Cheesecake Factory for a server shift, expecting that everyone is going to tip 20%, or that you're going to get Bill Gates to come in and eat at your table and then pay off all of your student loans is an unreasonable expectation. Then going ahead and getting mad at every single person for only tipping 18%? That's on you, motherfucker. 18% is fine.
Better than the 0% many do.
For example. Exactly. Which, granted, I mean, like, that's also another thing in and of itself. Don't be like, hey, it's better than nothing. So, like,
I mean, yeah. Again, that moderation, find a middle road. Don't tip 1%.
Moderation,
Be like, it's better than nothing.
yeah.
Oh, sorry, I left all my cash
how
at
about-
home. Bitch, we have an ATM. It's right over there.
Be yourself, but don't be a dick. Like,
Yes.
Be
but
yourself
again,
unless
this-
yourself is a
this
dick and be somebody
translates-
else.
This translates so much
Then
into
seek
the other
therapy.
things, including the Wheel of Time Season 1. Look, you didn't have any expectations when you read the Wheel of Time. Or maybe you did, but, like, not as many, because there wasn't a series before the Wheel of Time that told you what to expect in the Wheel of Time, the book
I
series.
expected book
It
one
just
to suck
happened.
based off of the cover alone. I'm very much a, like, if the date says it was...
what do you got against Nicolas Cage, man?
No, it wasn't
Yeah.
because of, like, the art. Like, okay, it was and it wasn't because of the artwork. I have this thing where, like, with TV shows, like, I look at the date that it was made first, And if I can't remember that date, I have low expectations inherently for the quality of the visuals of the show because I don't enjoy older looking shows. I just don't. So that is a personal thing. I did that with the cover of book 1, where I'm like, this looks like very old art for
Okay.
very old book. And thankfully I was pleasantly surprised. So,
Yep. No, so you read the book series and you loved it. Awesome. You're already through with step 1. We love having you here. You're awesome. Also, if you read the whole Wheel of Time series and you didn't love it, but you actually respect it, sure, you're also welcome. Great. If you went into season 1 of the Wheel of Time expecting everything to be shot for shot to your specifications, you are a dumb motherfucker and I cannot save you. I'm sorry. You are absolutely a dumb motherfucker and you cannot be saved as far as adaptations are concerned. Because if you actually expected it to be exactly the same way that you thought it was in your head as you were reading, you don't know how TV shows fucking work. That was never gonna happen. Ever. I guarantee that even Rafe Judkins, the showrunner of the show, did not get to sit there and say, my headcanon is exactly this.
No.
That's exactly what's going to show up. That's
We
not
we
how
have
this works.
we have an interview from him talking about how the Weep for Manetheren story,
Was
he had to
almost
fight tooth and nail to get it in there. Amazon straight up said, "Nah, we don't want that in there." And he went, "No. You can't not." And what we got,
No,
I'm
you
sorry,
can't,
if
no.
you're doing a 1-for-1 comparison to the book, I'm sorry, it was a shit scene. I'll say it straight now. If you're doing a 1-for-1 comparison to the book, it was a shit scene.
But that
a-
does not
a
mean that it was
pale
a bad scene
shade.
if you are not trying to expect the book.
And
now again,
and-
if you are sad that they didn't, or annoyed that they did not stick to the spirit of the
God.
book as you
More
feel.
shoddy, why you gotta do that to me, buddy? More shoddy in the live chat,
Yeah, I know.
dropping truth bombs. Look.
That is where we are. You can
You know,
actually have
The
critiques
subject
the
of this show just changed into a pre-review of season 1 by the Black Tower before we get into our episode breakdowns. That's what the subject of the show is now. We actually had a topic,
No,
but we
we're
got
gonna go do it.
so
We're gonna
off
go do
topic.
it. We're gonna go do it because
Okay, then you better segue back into it,
I know,
motherfucker, because I don't want to give any of these bitches that are listening, and not that you all are bitches, I don't want to give any of these lovely listeners whiplash.
Indeed.
Oh.
So honestly, don't be a dick. Don't be an extremist. And speaking of extremists, and the only way to deal with extreme problems, Andrew, before we actually get into our topic, can you put the condom on the penises that the people are not supposed to be?
I sure can. Oh, it's this one.
Hello, I'm Tamsir Al-Norm. You may remember me from the Dusty Wheel or the Black Tower podcast. I'm here to give you a public service announcement about spoilers, as this episode may contain some. As if you didn't already know that, like watching the film Titanic and being surprised that the boat sinks at the end of the movie. Hello, moron. The movie is called Titanic. Of course the boat fracking sinks. This show is called the Black Tower Podcast, as in from the Wheel of Time. And these 3 guys are Ashaman. Well, at least 2 of them. I don't know about that Josh guy. Anyway, you have been warned.
I was very confused why my face was so brightly lit until I realized that most of the StreamYard screen is like white light. Like, where is all this light coming from? Whoa.
Ride that
There.
white lightning. Oh.
I still look like a Simpsons character, but whatever.
All right, guys.
I
So,
mean-
as stated, tonight we are actually talking about extreme solutions to extreme problems. and a number of variations of extreme solutions to extreme problems. And that is the idea in the Wheel of Time that magic, or channeling in this case, is something that you're born with. Either you can touch the source,
torch,
or you will touch the
torch.
source.
Touch the torch.
Touch.
You can touch the torch if you want to.
You can leave your torch behind.
Oh, because your friends
because your friends don't torch it. Torch, then they're no friends of mine.
But anyway, this is sort of an ability that we've talked about before, and even sort of went into in depth in some ways of where that is located and how it works and blah blah blah. That it seems to be that your body and your soul both need to be able to touch the true source to be able to channel. But what happens when you do the wrong thing? Or if you're born into the third age as a man? Because fuck those guys, right?
That was the wrong thing you did.
They
in the
broke
third age.
the world. I know,
You
right?
dare be born as a man who can
The
channel.
world at the...
You make it filthy.
Right.
Gives me shivers for two different reasons now, and I'm mad at both of them.
Amazing, fantastic,
do you know what?
Terrifying person.
I will say, Kate Fleetwood is amazing because she plays one of the most deplorable characters in the series. I've never met a single person that said Kate Fleetwood is misunderstood. You know what? We made an episode about Savannah is misunderstood.
Kate Fleetwood is wonderful, but Leandrin is not misunderstood.
You said what I said, but in different words. I've never met anybody. Now we've had an episode about Savannah. Okay, she's misunderstood. Is she a bitch? Absolutely. Did she think she was doing what she should have been doing? Okay, cool. We can make a case for that. I'm sorry, Leandrin's just a bitch. I think it would be a challenge for the Black Tower to give her context that would allow anyone to sympathize with her. And I'm now laying that forth as one of, I'm going to call it Sympathy for the Devil, as one of the panels for the Gathering Madness.
Oh, yes. Sympathy for the Shadow.
Doing
I like it.
We're doing
I like it. We each pick like one or two shadow side characters and have to humanize them and defend them.
But the point being, Leandrin has a tremendous delivery where she looks this man dead in the windows of his soul and says, this power is meant for women. And when men touch it, make it dirty. And just, oh God, the vitriol in her soul.
You've seen the movie The Dictator, right?
Oh!
Mm-hmm. You remember the scene where like the dude's sitting in the hospital and it's like, you've tested HIV, Aladdin? And he's like, oh no. Or is it good? Yeah, because like he changed positive and negative the words to be Aladdin. So it was the same thing. That's me now watching that scene. You make it filthy and I'm like, oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Like, I don't know how to feel.
No.
Yeah. Am I filthy? Yeah, am I filthy? Tell me how filthy I am.
Oh shit, I'm actually filthy. No, but so at some point, men who could channel broke the world because they attacked the Dark One or tried to seal him away or whatever we have gone into and whatever your headcanon is as far as their carnal sin with channeling.
115 men who could channel broke the world, and the remaining channelers chose to do nothing, and they're not channeling broke the world.
I mean, easily argued, and we have done it in the past.
I think we did a whole episode actually talking about it.
We did. But anyway, so all of the men born into the Third Age are dangerous.
Okay.
There is the idea that all of them will at some point touch the source, and therefore will at some point go mad from the taint. And that is a scary thought. That is actually terrifying when it comes right down to it. There you have these potential nuclear bombs that you cannot find until they are already armed. That's terrifying. Really is. Now, all of us here at the Black Tower do not agree with their solution for this problem, or at least with the full extent of the solution. Some of us may actually agree with the removal of the power, also known as the nuclear material in some ways, from the individual. We do not agree with the aftercare at all in any way, shape, or form, or the lack thereof in some ways. But it's definitely an extreme solution to a terrifying problem that is definitely very big, very massive, very, very larger than life. Now, we also have the idea of when women who can channel commit crimes or do something horrible enough or are Amerlin seed at the wrong time, they are then also removed from their ability to channel and also not aftercared because, yay, that's also not a thing for women, so at least it's consistent. And then they have to figure out their own purpose to continue living as well. And then we have a third category that we talk about a lot because it actually happens a number of times in the books and is talked about being very scary for all of the women who can channel and men, to be fair to a certain degree. They just don't get to explore it very much in the Wheel of Time books because, you know, most men who can channel are just gentled instead of getting to this point. And that is being burned out. And that is the act of using the one power incorrectly, or using it in the wrong place, or using a ter'angreal incorrectly, or not knowing what you're doing with a certain thing, or pulling too much power in the wrong time, or with the wrong sangreal or ter'angreal or something along those lines, or trying to shield the Dragon Reborn in a box and having him break out. All of these are examples of times
It's
that
already in
someone,
a box.
right? Of times that we see people get burned out. And that is a removal of the power from their ability to be problematic with the power later. And do anything with the power later. It's not even just be problematic. It's literally they can never sense the source again. It is gone from them forever. And we wanted to talk about all of this a little bit tonight because there's a difference between these three things. Gentling and stilling is effectively the same thing, either for men or for women. And we just have two different names because there is a different power, saidar or saidin, that they are cutting you off from. But it is someone using channeling to sever a connection that one has with either saidar or saidin. Those are healable. Someone can go in with the power and fix that severing. They can heal that cut. With burning out, it seems like it is unhealable. And in fact, through interviews, the author has said that it is unhealable. That burning out is a permanent condition. So we thought we would explore a little bit of what's the difference between stilling and gentling. What do we think about stilling and gentling and burning out? What we're given as far as the books are concerned of examples of all of these things and what people do with it and all of that different stuff. Just a little bit of background into it and all of that different stuff. So I am going to shut my big pie hole because I've now talked a lot for a number of minutes and let one of the other two of you take a hold of this now that I feel like I have well and truly beaten the intro of this topic into the ground. Take it away, Andrew.
Feel the sneeze coming.
Okay, I'll jump in then.
Stop.
Look, Oh, do you want to
Oh
jump
no,
in then?
it's fine. You know me. Once I get going, I'm gonna start immediately with gentling, and it's
Do it.
all right.
Do it. Fucking go.
Gentling. For one, fuck you for the name. I said
Go into that not so gentle
Six
night.
Ways from Sunday for the name. You're lying to yourselves. You're lying to the world to cover up your what's the word for those heinous war crimes.
Heinous crimes.
Because-
What's the word for that? Heinous work.
Because one of the worst things you can do in a situation that's maybe even not going your way exactly, but definitely not in a way that's actually really bad, is immediately have a knee-jerk reaction out of fear, especially one that you later on go, no, this is fine. Let's keep doing this. Because then you wind up taking the next 6 years and causing over 10,000 men and boys to lose their lives, along with 30 to 50 Aes Sedai sisters who lose their lives in the process of enacting this horrible eugenics-like program on the world out of fear. And you lose 2 Armerlins because of
Dr.
it.
Mengele of the Red Aja.
And then your own history books essentially say, well, only 15 to 25 of these over 10,000 men and boys could actually channel. And even your official number is actually an official fucking lie, because only 7 of the people you managed to do that to could actually channel, it turns out. And that's hidden in the 13th Depository. So you killed over 10,000 people, and even for the reason you used, if that reason had been justified, you were still only justified in 7. And I'm like, and the fact that they're essentially never held accountable for it, and there's still an entire faction of the White Tower moving into the Third Age, that their main core purpose is to do this, is absolutely disgusting and astounding. And this whole period, of course, that I'm talking about prior to the start of the books is called appropriately the vileness, because what they were doing was incredibly vile and disgusting. And eventually, believe it or not, the Aes Sedai managed to admit that maybe they weren't doing things exactly right. And that's like getting certain Asian dictator type rulers to admit that they put things where they shouldn't have been, and they've been a problem for a while. It's rare. It really doesn't happen. It's astounding when it does. And why isn't my mouse moving?
But your mouth is moving, Andrew.
Mouse, not mouth. No, and I guess it wasn't obvious. Like I really hate gentling. I really do. Understanding the rationale behind a decision, I can do. I can understand why. I get the fear knee-jerk reaction. But reacting like this out of fear does, as it did for the history of the books, and it signs a death warrant for just anybody that says they might be a witch. The same as the Salem witch trials. The same. Pick essentially any genocide in history. Generally, it gets started by some sort of fear mongering used to make it acceptable to murder entire swaths of people. In every case, it is absolutely heinous, and you should be ashamed of yourselves. And that's the least offensive thing I can say about how you should feel about that.
Also, I just want to throw out real quick, because there is someone commenting. I know they're the only one commenting right now in our live chat. Yes, Morshadi, we all understand that gentling may or may not actually have had the least intense and insane secondhand consequences of any choice that people made to deal with male channelers in the Third Age. But just because it's the least bad thing doesn't mean it's not bad. It just means it's the least bad thing. And also, it's not even necessarily the least bad thing. It's just the thing that doesn't come bite us in the ass
Yeah.
the most.
And the
And that's not a good barometer for going ahead and determining what is the least bad
and
thing.
the weird
Isn't
thing
it?
about how even bad and having secondary and even tertiary consequences that were worse later on.
Mhm.
The thing about the way the IL dealt with it, the thing with all of the ones that were sent to the land of madmen, the thing about even how the Saurons did it, about how even the Shanshan did it, is you know what they did before they did it? They knew they could fucking channel. It wasn't a guessing game. It wasn't a you look like scary man, you're dead. It wasn't a fucking guessing game. They knew.
Okay,
So at least within their
Yes.
own individual rationales for why they do it, they were correct with heavy quotation marks within their own rationale. The Aes Sedai weren't even correct
Sure.
at 1% of the time during the violence within their own rationale. Like
Yes.
tremendously
and
high
to be
KD,
fair-
but fucking war crimes to make Canada, France, and Germany jealous. Like,
To be fair, I will also throw out there that, I mean, like, again, I'm glad that you brought that up, and I'm glad that we talked about it for a moment, and I'm sure it's not the last time that we will bring it up. I will throw out there that I think that we should keep this episode to the actual act of gentling, not just murdering people we don't know can channel. Because gentling someone actually does require channeling. It is the severing of someone from their ability to channel. It's not just, you're adorable, now you're dead. Like, it does leave them alive while lacking this particular thing. And that is what this episode is about.
well,
Again,
the whole point.
please do not
Which
hear
is
that
a fate
as,
worse
hey,
than death.
Andrew, stay on topic. That's not what I'm saying. I'm glad that you brought it up. I'm glad that you got that out. I agree with you completely.
Well, the whole point.
But it's also a situation where we are sort of talking about a specific act and sort of the differences between a number of different
Sure.
acts of
sure.
ending someone's ability to channel specifically, not just ending
Yeah,
their life.
and the whole reason I brought it up is to give the background context for why it's even called gentling and why it exists in the form it
Yes,
does now.
Indeed.
Now, to be fair, it did go on
That's fair.
longer than I did. Longer than I
must
intended,
say-
but go ahead,
No.
Josh.
You're good. No, you're good. First off, and 100% honestly, there's not a single society in the Wheel of Time series that has a good solution for dealing with men who can channel.
To be fair,
And-
there isn't one, but yes.
No, that's what I'm saying. There's not a single society that has a good
No.
solution for dealing.
What I'm saying is, I don't think there exists one in the world that Robert
No,
Jordan
no,
created,
oh, for
is
sure,
what I'm
for
saying.
sure. But all of them think it's the best solution.
Yes.
You've got the Aiel, and when they find a man who can channel, they say, "Go spit in Sightblinder's eye." And what do we learn about that? We learn that those men who can channel get turned. Right? We know that the sea folk are like, "Hey, when we find a man who can channel, we send you to the island of madmen." How is that like living in fear and madness? And kill me, like honestly, just kill me. But we can't kill you because that wouldn't be humane. Okay, the Shanshan straight up do.
brain damage.
The Shanshan do. They're just like, "Oh, you're a man who can channel. You're done. You're dead. We don't like you. We kill you. I kill you. You channel. I kill you." The Sharans probably have the worst solution. But even then, it's arguably the worst because they keep them as breeding stock until their lives are no longer viable, aka they go insane, and then they kill them. So, okay. Then the Aes Sedai, in their very sanitary, very clinical sort of, "Oh yes, this is what is best for them. We cut off their ability to channel, and then they have a chance to live a normal life. And it's like,
No, they never.
girl, you can't even say stilling without trembling with fear, because you know what that means. And every single one of them sort of turn this blind eye to it.
Mhm.
But in every situation, everyone turns a blind eye to it. I would say that the White Tower has a specific sort of additional intensity to this, because not only do they gentle men on the regular, which puts them essentially on par with every other society, but they also use stilling as a threat of punishment.
Mm-hmm.
They know this is not the death penalty. You can argue. I'm about to get controversial. You can argue that the death penalty is right or wrong, and you can have different reasons for that. But the fact remains that not a single person alive today knows what it means to have death brought upon them. Why? Because once death is brought upon you, you are now dead, and you can no longer converse with people who are not dead.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is the fact of the matter. So execution remains to be a topic. Like, is it the best solution? I don't know. I've not talked to any dead people. But Aes Sedai know the pain of stilling. They all know the fear, and I would have the fear of losing their connection to Saidar. And I have to wonder if Robert Jordan didn't weave this into the narrative, if you'll pardon the pun, as sort of yet another way that the Aes Sedai thought they were doing the right thing and ended up making a mistake because they weren't doing the right thing. They did something they could arguably have been educated that it was wrong.
So this is actually something that I want to bring up now, because I think that this is important. We know, as human beings and as a society, that we have all of these traditions that people are like, oh, well, this is tradition. Da, 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 da.
If I was a rich man. Sorry, continue.
Indeed. That is sort of the idea of that's the way we've always done it. And so at some point in the past, here, this is a great example of this. There's an old joke that I think that you guys will appreciate, which is that a commander comes in to an army base, and he is the new commander of the army base, and he's walking around, and he notices that there are two men who are guarding a bench. And he goes over to them and he says, all right, what's the deal with this bench? Why do you guys need to watch over and guard this bench? And they say, we don't know. We were just assigned to guard the bench, and we'll continue to do it until we're told not to. And he says, okay, how long have you guys been guarding the bench? And both of them are like, the bench has been guarded since, long before we came to the base. And he goes, all right, cool. So he goes back to his office and he looks up the information of the commander before him, and he calls him up and he says, hey, why are there two guys guarding a bench? And he says, oh, I don't know. The previous commander to me had that set up, and I just continued to do it and assign people to guard the bench. And he calls the commander before him and the commander before him until he gets to this really old commander who's in his 90s and hasn't actually gone ahead and presided over that base for years and years and years. And he calls him up and he says, hey, I've got these two guys guarding this bench. Is there any reason for that? And the commander goes, the fuck are you doing that for? Is the paint still wet? And again, it's very much that idea of we've had these traditions that are now traditions because they made sense for a particular reason at a particular time.
I hate how
And
much I love that joke,
someone-
Daniel. Fuck you, by the way.
And if someone had gone ahead and decided to actually look into the tradition of why it is that you do that thing, or rethink that tradition at all, there's a strong possibility that that tradition would have stopped a lot earlier because we either are no longer in those circumstances or no longer have that lifestyle. But the Aes Sedai are one of the strongest examples in the Wheel of Time of we do this because tradition. And over and over and over again, the new characters who come into the White Tower, whether they be Elaine, Egwene, Nynaeve, Min, all of these different things, stand there and go, but why? This stuff makes no sense. We are leaving powers on the table. We are not exploring things we should. We are leaving, women in this horrible state of being stilled when we don't need to do that. And over again, those people are right. How much of stilling and gentling is actually just because no one ever stopped to say, well, that's just how things are, and that's just how we do things, and there are no
the
symptoms
story of the White
problem.
Tower.
And they have opportunity after opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to stop and say, we are a big organization. We don't have time to always sit down and examine the absolute minutia of what we are doing. But there are so many things that we need to take another look at. Especially because, again, we know that a lot of their processes and such have been corrupted by the Black Aja that they won't admit exists. So there's that too. Anyway.
Okay. So this is the thing. This is the thing that gets me. Like, I actually would not be opposed to a system that says, "Hey, stop! You violated the law. We're going to cut you off from the true source." Like, the punishment should fit the crime, and if the punishment is heinous enough, if the crime is heinous enough, the punishment should. Well, if the crime is heinous enough, the punishment should match in levels of heinousity. But the problem with this is there's an issue of, hey, the man has never done anything wrong except for being born with the ability to channel.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to essentially give him a death sentence, but it's not a death sentence per se. We didn't kill him. We just cut off his entire ability to feel happiness. That's cool, right? Don't worry about it. He's still alive. We're not monsters. But my interest peaks because the aftercare for someone who's been gentled and or stilled is the same, or probably more than someone who's been burnt out.
Oh, that's accurate. That statement is absolutely
because someone who's been burnt out, guess what happens to them? They go, the White Tower goes,
you're not one of us anymore. Have fun being not us.
Go out there and die. Like, seriously, we don't want you around here. You can't even channel anymore, which is like insult to injury. Like, are you serious? Are you fucking kidding me right now?
You make me sad.
Right? I mean, yes.
Yeah.
And here, it makes me wonder, and we don't get a lot of text in this, but in the Black Tower, Taim has all initiates essentially holding saidin to their capacity from sunup to sundown. He straight up says you will hold Saidin to your max ability sunup to sundown to learn how to use it, to learn how to control it, to learn how to live with it, to learn how to feel it and understand it, which is stark opposition to how the White Tower does things.
Mm-hmm.
I can't accept, or I can't believe that there isn't a measure of acceptable losses in the Black Tower. And I know we talk about that there is.
Yeah.
But how many men burn themselves out? We don't really know. And what is the treatment of men who burn themselves out afterwards? Again, we don't know. It's never addressed. I would like to believe, based on probably a lot of personal bias, but mostly based on the fact that people in the Wheel of Time address problems through certain lenses. And in the Black Tower, the lens is everyone is welcome, everyone has a place. We need all the hands we can get. My guess, and maybe I don't know. Under Taim, I don't know. But post Taim, my guess would be that anyone who burns themselves out is immediately given a responsibility at the Black Tower.
I think it's under Logain in the Fourth Age, you may be correct. Though I also imagine that the Black Tower is much different in its training techniques as well. But I absolutely would argue that if anybody burned themselves out before Tarman Gaiden, that they would be given a purpose to live, but that purpose would be the army that Bashir is commanding.
That could even be like, that could be a great place. Like, you didn't make it as a male channeler, as a soldier, as a dedicated, as an Ashaman. Guess what? You can still have purpose in life. Join the Dragon's Legion. You came here for a reason, because you wanted to serve the Lord Dragon. You still want to serve the Lord Dragon? You still can. Go train under Lord Bashir, who is one of the great captains. Like, I feel like that's not a bad transition. Like, it could be much worse. Like, it's not happy by any means.
No.
Like, you're still dealing with what is essentially shell shock or PTSD.
It's not
But-
really aftercare, but it's also not, hey, go die in whatever way you see fit.
Hey, sit here in this beautiful park of tulips and smell the tulips while you die. Like, fuck off. Come on.
Anyway, Andrew, you've been a little quiet for a bit. We have been having a conversation, obviously, but do you have any thoughts? Do you have anything to add to this, or a new topic to bring up, or something along those lines?
So to finish where I was going with Gentling,
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my bad.
eventually once, and this is crucial to understanding how Gentling, I mean, they're all uniquely different, but how Gentling is, in my opinion, especially uniquely different. The Aes Sedai realized that just going out and gentling / murdering people is not the way to go about it. To the point where I think that of the solutions that we see in the Wheel of Time, that the Aes Sedai, by design of program, come up with the best of all these less than savory solutions. Because by design, what is supposed to happen, and what Liandrin and a lot of the Red Aja sisters actively try to subvert, is if an individual, if a male is suspected of being able to channel, they are to be captured, shielded, basically arrested and shielded, and brought before the Amerlin seat to be tried by the tower, determine if they can channel, and then determine how mad they are and what they can do about it, if anything. And then ultimately, generally, the sentencing for the crime of being born as you are is to still you from being able to channel. Now, there is a bit of a mercy to it. If they do happen to catch you just as you start to channel, and you don't really know what it is, and you've really only channeled like maybe once or twice, you're not so far into the channeling creates a blissful experience that can't compare to anything else, and without it, my life is meaningless feeling. So there is a chance, at least in that way, where it won't be as bad for you if they catch you early enough. Which spoiler alert, they never do. They never do. And to be fair, like that is an incredibly difficult thing to do. Um, Even some of the most experienced
Well-
Aes Sedai don't know that a man can channel unless they're happen to be in possession of one of 2 or 3 incredibly rare ter'angreal that sense the presence of Sidene. So
Yeah, that's the mechanics.
but
Well, and of course, they could go out into the world and actually look, but they are sequestered in their White Tower until they
But-
hear tell of a man who can channel to the point of being a problem, and then go out and
Yeah.
fix it. But continue.
no, you're fine.
Yes.
But the thing that makes it so different from stilling and burning out is almost always unintentional, unwittingly. You've lost control, or you're in a desperate situation trying to desperately make something work, and it's generally an accident.
Mhm.
Stilling is a direct consequence, a punishment for willfully and knowingly committing a severely egregious offense against Tower law. You directly did something that caused this to happen to you. Or, in the case of burning out,
Mhm.
it might be an accident, but it's still in that realm of, as horrible as it is, it's something that you did to yourself. For not knowing your limits, or for being too fatigued and still trying to channel when you shouldn't. There's a reason that the White Tower has prohibitions on these kind of things. If you're too fucking tired, don't channel. Things like that. It is in some ways linked to stamina. Gentling is neither of those. You didn't accidentally or even intentionally do it to yourself. You didn't choose to be able to channel. You didn't choose not to be able to channel, because you can't really. And for many of the men that can channel, and often the ones they hear about are men that began to channel because they're the male equivalent of wilders, where no matter what they do, they will channel. And there's absolutely nothing you can do to control it or change it. And still, the White Tower, out of fear, finds that a crime and an offense. And that ties in, unfortunately, with the White Tower's absolute refusal to explore anything outside what they know. If we don't already know it, it must be too dangerous to explore. So there's never an alternative to gentling found. And the mere reality of being born as a male with the ability to channel alone is essentially enough for the White Tower to condemn you to death. And where they progressed very far from just going out and, I think I saw him do something that looks like magic, you're dead, to now you're supposed to be brought and tried and confirmed. Like, in the trial, we should be able to figure out if you can channel or not, so we make sure we're not just, extinguishing flames for no reason. It's different, and it's a lot more common than definitely than stilling, and it's a lot more common historically than burning out, but probably about as common in the scope of the series as we read it as burning out. So, yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So
That was
let me
my whole
ask this
tirade
then.
on gentlemen.
Let me
Sorry.
ask this then.
That's where all that was
I
inevitably
love it.
going.
No,
to.
I love it. I'm in.
Indeed.
I'm hard in. So let me ask
Oh, yeah?
this then. Let's say you're king of Brandland for a day. What would you do? What is a good and equitable solution to deal with the taint on Sidene, the madness problem with Sidene? How would you address that? Go.
So
Daniel's son.
I will admit that again, this is definitely a thing that I feel like they probably tried for a while. But I think that hope needs to exist. Hope is the thing that is missing from Randland. And what I mean by that is right now, in our actual world, there are a lot of people who find themselves diagnosed with cancer. And a lot of them are untreatable in some way. Either they are unable to actually remove the entire tumor, or they are unable to stop certain symptoms, or whatever. But every day, there are people working to find a solution to that problem. Now, it's slow progress, and it probably will not actually happen in your personal lifetime, depending on what you have, how old you are, and what kind of work or how far along the work on that particular thing is, and such. But in the end, there is someone looking. There is absolutely someone looking at just about every different every different cancer and looking for a solution. Also, we do a lot of aftercare or during care or whatever you want to call it to people who have been diagnosed with terminal illnesses, even if we know that it is inoperable or incurable or whatever, at least as far as the medicine that we currently have. That is what's missing from Randland. The Aes Sedai and Randland absolutely stand there and say, all men are bad. Sorry. All men who can channel are bad.
I mean, I'm sure some of them say that.
Some of them.
I mean, there's always somebody
exactly
to say something, to be fair. So,
for example,
Hey, do you know what that gives a dimension of evil to Leandrin in the TV show?
Mm-hmm.
Because what she's saying is not wrong, but at the same time, it's also not right.
well, I mean, she feels that way not about the guy she meets at North Harbor, so as Moraine knows.
So it's the hypocrisy again.
The goddamn hypocrisy,
right? But again, I think that's what is missing from Randland, because all of the Aes Sedai stand there and say, all men who can channel are a problem. We are looking for no solutions to this problem. We already have our solution, and it is horrible. And we are looking for no new solutions. We are not looking to remove the taint from saidin. We are absolutely just letting this be. And the only people who feel like, or the only organization that people feel like actually have a chance at solving this problem are standing there saying, nope, definitely not. There is no solution. There is no fix for this problem. It will never happen. We are not looking. We will never look. It is over. We are done. Anyone who comes out to be a male, of the male sex who can channel just needs to be removed. And also, we will do absolutely nothing for them on some levels after they are gentled. We will keep them in our care in the White Tower, and care is a strong word. What we will do is we will try and make sure that they don't commit suicide. That is what we will attempt to try and do, and we will fail just about every time. Because they will figure out a way to do it, because we are giving them absolutely nothing to live for, and we are not even trying. And I think that's really the problem, is the lack of hope. The fact that there is no one trying to fix the taint, there is no one trying to come up with a new solution to this problem, and there is no one trying to give these men hope after they are gentled. There are very few people even trying to give the women something to live for after they are stilled, and there are very, very, very few women or men or anything who are trying to give women who are burned out hope after the fact. So if I were king of Randland for a day, I would absolutely set it up so that someone or some group of people was looking for those three things: a solution to the problem at its source of the taint, a solution to the problem that is better than the one that we have, knowing that the taint may never be cleansed, and a solution to the solution that we've come up with of giving hope to people who have none.
So my question, I guess, before answering, excluding the timeline of events from the books, excluding expressly just the timeline, knowing that like eventually it's going to be cleansed, that kind of stuff. Otherwise, do I know everything I know about the world of Wheel of Time?
That's a fair question. I was assuming no.
If it's only a day, I'd like to at least have a general idea of how the Aes Sedai operate. Like what the purpose of the different Ajas is and that kind of stuff. And if that's the case, if I'm permitted that, then what I do is them going out and addressing the problem and bringing them back to the tower while under constant shielding, I do not change. If they go through their trial and it is confirmed that they can channel, you pull out a Saw Angreal and you link, or 13 sisters work together to build a shield. And whoever has the Saw Angreal puts their shield on as well and ties it all off. So they are now, in effect, perpetually shielded. Well, not in effect, but for a reasonable amount of time. And then you do a thing where you continuously monitor them, because that will be easy, because while they are there and while they are completely shielded, they now work with the Yellow Aja for research to see if they can inevitably, ultimately, what I'm trying to get the Yellow Aja to do is discover what Nynaeve discovers about the taint and the barbs in the mine, and the way to maybe either section it off or remove it, or whatever the case may be. And you pair that with the Brown Aja, who documents everything, so that Aes Sedai that come after that maybe are scared to do certain things can look and see what has been done and what's been tried. And then
the diarrhea Aja. The yellow and the brown.
And then while they're doing all this and they're working together on this medical research to see if there's a way to at least cure the individual from madness, you also start pairing these men up with the warders and the green Aja, especially in the case that, because inevitably you're going to have someone that through slips and cracks or whatever winds up channeling enough or channels enough where they're already mad and they have no choice but to remove that ability as a precaution. But save for the most extreme cases. So you take and pair them up with warders and the green Aja, who have the most experience at keeping alive and persuading people to stay alive who want nothing more than to not be alive. I'm not saying that the green Aja just fucks all the male channelers that like lose the ability, but if they go through like warder training and they turn out to be,
but if it worked for Lan,
I'm not saying you can't, but if you go through all the training with warders, you turn out and like, you make yourself into like this relatively skilled warrior, and you do wind up being bonded to an Aes Sedai, that would help in your desire to stay alive. And if nothing else, she could use one of her commands to like order you to find a reason to live or something like that, or try. And so I think you get the aftercare.
That's a really
good. You get the research going on where hopefully eventually you delve somebody enough. Like I think that's entirely what allowed Nynaeve to do it. She had delved people so much, and then one day said, I'm going to throw all caution to the wind, screw the traditions of the White Tower, I'm going to use an extra weave for healing. Oh shit, I found something. That I think ultimately it leads to the discovery sooner rather than later of at least a way to keep madness from getting worse. With, it'd be a thing. It'd be just like cancer requires continuous treatment. to mitigate and even eventually remove, which I think eventually they'd be able to do, just like with small enough cases Nynaeve was able to do. But it gives the aftercare, it gives the current care, it takes measures that actively monitor and keep people safe because you keep them shielded, and it keeps them mainly from dealing with the despair. Because I think the biggest thing is clearly psychological. Of yeah, that thing that gave me bliss to use, I can never use again. They're still gonna be like, oh shit, I can't use it anymore. But they know it's only a shield has to be removed and they can touch it again. So there is that hope and that incentive to work with the White Tower to find a solution or a cure to madness, at least at the individual level. I think.
I like
I
that.
think what it comes down to is that really, until the taint on Sidene is removed, there's just not a good solution. There just isn't. Because I'm even thinking, like, okay,
I don't know.
say
I
you
like Andrew's.
I mean,
That actually sounded great.
don't get me wrong. I
I
absolutely
mean,
like what he
but to
said.
be fair, it is as much
But
a solution
it's
to
a
madness
stopgap.
as like chemo is to cancer. It's the cancer's still out there. You can
Yeah.
still go into remission, but if it's effective, it is a stop loss measure. Which I've just triggered every vet
I
during low manning times with the phrase stop loss.
But let me say it this way. Is that a permanent solution? Or is that kicking the can down the road until we can maybe find something better later?
It's kicking the can.
I mean, the answer is there isn't, again, unless you actually have the solution that solves the problem. It's kicking the can, but again, it's kicking the can in a way that is, we don't know when this will happen, so we are trying today and kicking the can to tomorrow if we can't do it today, and then kicking the can till tomorrow if we can't today. But it's always trying today to open the can, and then only kicking it if you can't actually do it today. And that's the difference.
Another part of...
Because the Aes Sedai, in some ways, never stop kicking the can. They just say it'll never happen. The can is non-existent. I would so much rather have kicking the can than tell people, hey, or than to have people tell others, the can doesn't exist, you motherfucker. Pick a different solution. Like,
because
only realize the truth.
Part of my thought
that there is no can.
Yeah. Part of my thought is that eventually the Yellow Aja will figure out a way to either completely or partially heal madness from the individual. And I think the inverse of what happened with Nynaeve and the cleansing of Sidene will happen with the Yellow Aja, where they realize the taint can be removed from men who are afflicted with madness. Well, if the taint can be removed from the men who are afflicted, can it be removed from the source, the power they use? Because I think for Nynaeve, she gets the idea because of the inverse. If the taint can be removed from Sidene, why can't it also be removed from the individuals afflicted with madness? And unfortunately for Rand, the answer is like, it's just too fucking complicated. Like, it's an inoperable tumor. Unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about this one.
It's a tumor.
Yeah. So that's my thought, that like it will be a much slower process. Of course, that's assuming that you don't have, like, I don't know, all of creation's strongest Ta'veren on record, which actually isn't really that great of a record because it's kind of short in terms of the spokes. But you have that, along with the fact that he's like an unbelievably powerful Chandler who is friends with many other unbelievably powerful Chandlers who also find the two most unbelievably strong artifacts of Sa'angreal to use. So, at least it's my hope.
I think that's what it took, though. Yeah.
No, I agree with you. And in the end, it is entirely like, this is so right now in human history, we have so many examples of people trying to fix a problem or trying to discover something about something new. And more often than not, the first person to bring up the problem or bring up the fact that we need a solution for something that's going on is not the person who actually figures out the solution. Because what they have available to them in their lifetime, or at least at their resource level, or whatever you want to call it, is woefully unprepared to go ahead and solve the problem. But they ask the first question and start the first experiments, or start the first, thought experiments, or start the first, hey, let me get this question out here by writing this as a book, or something along those lines. And that person then is the catalyst to someone else later who says, wait, we actually now have some of the tools that we need to answer some of the smaller questions that this person posed as part of a larger question that we still don't have the right things to actually observe. I mean, take telescopes, for example. We've known that outer space existed for a really long time. We've known that black holes exist for a really long time. Maybe not really long. A long enough time. Like 3 years ago is the very first time that we ever actually got a picture of a black hole.
Has it already been 3 years since then?
Something like
but
that.
recent.
I thought
recently.
it was 2020.
Is it, yeah, I get the point.
Yeah, no, recent.
Like, hey, you know this thing that
And so
absorbs
again,
all light that by definition you can't see because it doesn't reflect light? Yeah, we figured out a way to take a picture of it. That is incredible.
Right?
We took a picture of a thing
Right?
you cannot see.
And so again, it's the idea of if you ask questions
I guess
now,
to be fair, they took
you
a picture
don't
of the
need
event
the
horizon,
answers
not really
today.
the black hole. But still, you get the point.
Indeed. If you ask questions now, you are allowing someone else to ask questions later. And that's what's not
And
happening.
asking questions
That
to
is
generate
the thing
problems for
that-
later generations to solve. Wasn't that
Yes.
like all of
And Andrew's,
Stephen Hawking's thing? He's like, a lot of what I do is give theories and ask questions, and he's like, and I will never solve them. They will never be solved in my lifetime, but some generation after me will solve the problem. Because I think he was one of the first ones to admit, like,
Yes.
he's like, no, my theories aren't perfect because we don't have a perfect understanding. It's the best I got. Like,
Mhm.
and that's what people
And
did. They
again,
ask questions
I
to
don't
clarify
think
his
that
theory.
I don't think that Andrew's solutions are perfect. He doesn't think his solutions are perfect. There will be a man or two or three or 10 or whatever who break out of their shield because they just abhor it so much.
You gotta lose
and
a couple
kill
nukes
an
to make a
Aes Sedai
superpower.
or 2 or 10.
That is horrible. Don't do that. Don't lose some
But
nukes to make a
in the
superpower. It
end-
doesn't work that way.
Hashtag Broken Arrow.
Right? But again, it's also like, what are you losing by not implementing Andrew's solution? You're losing all hope. You're losing there is the supposition that Varen makes at some point that if you actually just kill these men outright and remove them from the population, you're also losing the proliferation of channeling and or the strength of channeling. There are so many unintended consequences that you're getting out of every possible solution. Because again, the solution you make today, you don't know how that's going to affect the future. Just like if you start asking questions today, you don't know who's going to
Because
solve
who's to
it.
say that the shield
But
now
instead of going
doesn't
ahead
become
and
a
doing
filter later?
possible things,
Imagine that. The
Right?
shield evolves to become a filter that filters out the taint before it gets to the male channeler. Imagine that.
right?
And with all of the talents available that we discover, like, who's to say that someone doesn't have a talent for that and they could discover the weave for that?
But let's say
And
there's
you
a male
eliminate
channeler.
that possibility when you just eliminate the whole
imagine it,
thing.
there's
And
a-
that's the
There's a male
problem.
channeler that figures out a way to pull a sliver of Sidene through the shield. And he notices that when he does, the sliver he pulls, absolutely clean. Bam. Now everyone's gonna be like, okay, we're pissed because you did the thing you're not supposed
Wait.
to do. It's fucking Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. How did a first year take down a fully grown mountain troll and live to tell the tale? Sheer dumb luck. butt
sheer
will fucking
dumb
die.
luck. You could also
That's how
figure
penicillin
out.
was found.
You could also
Come on.
figure out. Now you figure out how to accidentally tie off a weave so that the shield remains or the filter remains in place. Then you say, "Hey, guess what? We discovered how to make Tirang Grial."
And you make it a
Boom.
legitimate
The
apology
problem with
for
that
a man to say,
is-
sorry, I have no filter. Sorry.
Look, bro, it's still the problem of it's still kick the can down the road. I'm sorry. It's still
Until
kick
the
down the road.
can reach
Is
the
it
point
a
where they
better
ask the
solution?
question.
Then is it a better solution than cutting off someone's ability to be happy? 100%. Absolutely. I would absolutely agree. But think about it like this too. Men fled to the steading and went, I can't channel here. That means I can't go mad and I can't kill those around me. I'm going to wait this out. I'm going to go to the Winchester, have a pint, and wait for this to all blow over. Then when they thought it blew over, they went out into the world, went insane, and the breaking
So
continued.
they had that choice.
So really,
like the shield removes the ability.
100%.
This is also like,
100%.
it's like
But
a 500
it's maintained
year.
by
Yeah.
someone.
Well, so this idea
It's
would be like a
maintained still,
500-year plan of potentially finding a solution. It is a very long road to kick the
He's,
can.
he's responsible.
We don't
He's
all-
got a
We
500-year
don't all
plan.
get a rand to figure it out in like what 8-9 months.
Well, but also, again,
Many-
as Andrew said, this is how science works more often than not. You say, I have a problem, or we have a problem, or whatever.
Just turn it
I
Alcoholics
have
Anonymous.
a possible solution. Let's go ahead and try it. More often than not, it's an accidental discovery or something that like pushes the science way further down the road than anybody expected, because they're standing there being like, guys, it could be 50 years before we have a cure for this. And then boom, somebody tries it, has an experiment, and goes, guys, I didn't figure out the cure for MS, but I absolutely found out how to go ahead and cure this other disease.
I didn't find
Or
a solution
map the
for
brain.
blood
Or-
pressure issues, but if you're an old man and you want to get a boner, boy, do I have the solution for you.
And so again, so much of science is asking questions that produce solutions, not necessarily to the solution that you were hoping it would give you. And so here are my final thoughts.
Well, Josh, were you done with your tangent?
Hope-
Or the train you were going on? Because I know I interrupted the living.
Yeah, we're good. We're good. No, you're good. I had already expressed
I'm now
pretty much
excited about-
basically what I wanted. Is that
And I did it again.
without any permanence, it doesn't matter how good your solution is. Without permanence, it's just kicking the can down the road. And that, I think, is a mistake that leadership makes a lot in our modern world. It is a mistake that Aes Sedai made. They were like, look, we can't do anything about this right now, so we'll just kick the can down the road. And I think it's an extremely, I won't say toxic trait, but I will say it is an extremely cancerous leadership trait, because I feel like anytime someone's willing to kick the can down the road because there's simply no solution, I feel like on some level they've given up. And they're no longer willing to explore an actual solution to that problem. And that's not okay, in my opinion.
I would agree to the point of if they give up. My whole idea is that this is like a continuous, earnest effort at trying to find the solution, not the Stephen Hawking or whoever has said in the past. I'm sure many people have, of I don't know the answers and I can't find the answers because I don't have the tech, but I know the question.
But that's not kicking the can down the road. Kicking the can down the road is going, well, I don't know, bye. The difference between that and what Stephen Hawking did was he said, I know, based upon the limitations of my day, that I will not find a solution. However, I'm not giving up. And if my research can give the future generation enough to build off of, then I've been a success.
That's what I'm
I
arguing.
don't feel like that's what the White
exactly
Tower
That's what
did.
I'm arguing the
Andrew's
Yellow Ajah
suggesting.
does. That they do as much as they can
Yeah, that's
continuously.
his whole solution.
Okay, so
Yes,
we're all
the
on the same
Aes
page.
Sedai in the story.
We're in
Okay.
agreement in that
Okay,
situation.
my bad. This whole time I'm like, what? I really thought this was
No,
a good
absolutely,
idea. Like the one time this
Like, I love
year
you,
that I think
Josh.
I have a great idea, and I'm like,
Right?
No, you did good. No, I
No,
apologize. I
you're
apologize.
fine.
It absolutely sounded like you were standing there being like, yeah, the problem with doing anything is it's kicking the can down the road. And we were like, I'm sorry, what the fuck did you
You
just say
absolutely
out of your human
misunderstood
mouth?
where you. I get where you're going now. That we'll figure it out later.
Thank you.
is
Okay,
a
thank
bullshit answer, and I completely agree, and I'm pretty sure Daniel completely agrees too. But for a bit there,
And
I
that's
thought you were
what
arguing
I
like
said,
research and development.
I
What a
agree.
fucking waste of time. And I'm like,
Right?
I'm like what? I don't know.
Yeah, fuck the scientific process, bitches. The Earth is flat, and fuck you. Gravity doesn't even exist. You dick shits.
Oh god. Anyway, I think Daniel is on the.
Anyway, Daniel, you
time-wise
were hopping into
responsible-
your final
the
thoughts.
time-wise responsible,
Yeah.
management responsible track of final thought.
The Time Lord
'Cause,
victorious.
I am quickly watching my sleepy time dwindle to no time. Who kidding? I don't even sleep. Your final thoughts, Daniel.
Okay, Sexy Morshadi, don't try and come up with some shit now. Popping up in the chat like they were unable to channel or even to sense the source, and one by one they left the shelter of this. That's what I was saying.
No. And this is why I actually think that Andrew and again,
I'm
Let
just
me be
kidding,
clear.
Morshadi. I love you. You know that.
Look at me
Andrew
with
has
all my
a more
facts and
fleshed
my
out version
screenshots
of
of
what
Robert Sorry, Daniel. Sorry.
right? Andrew had a more fleshed out idea, a more concrete idea of what I was talking about in my hope. I was generalizing the concrete idea that Andrew had, and I think it's a great idea. And that is men who can channel in the steading can't even sense the source, but they remember the euphoria.
Correct.
They can't stand to not touch the source
Right.
or sense the source. So they go out and they make problems worse because they just can't live without it.
Right.
Again, I am not saying that there aren't going to be a handful of men who say, "Bah, I can't take it anymore," and they need to go ahead and be removed somehow. Whether it's something in the wine or,
Bunch of
something actually
junkies.
extreme, like being killed on the battlefield or being gentled or something like that. That may happen. But I feel like a lot of these men who were in the steading had no hope. The whole point was they had tasted Sidene. They knew it was euphoria. And they couldn't live without it. So they went out and found it. These are men who know that there's a possibility of the future being better and Sidene being cleansed. Less of them are going to say, "Oh man, I just can't fucking live without it right now. I got to get it right now. Seriously, put it inside me." Then
Y'all got
if
any
you
more of that
know-
Sidene?
Like, again, it's the idea of if you know there's fentanyl in your shit, you're less likely to take it if you know that there's a possibility of tomorrow getting a fentanyl-less batch. Like,
Yeah.
if the fentanyl stuff is the only thing you can get, you're more likely to take it. But if no one's giving you a possible solution tomorrow to get a fentanyl-less batch, you go take the fentanyl right now. Like, you go take the stuff that's bad for you, that may kill you because you can't live without that feeling. And again, that is the That is the problem with the men who went mad, who went in the setting. That is the problem of gentle men after the fact. That is the problem of men who will touch the source and cannot stop themselves. There is no hope. There is no hope of later no fentanyl. They just have to take the stuff they have right now. And
Yeah.
I think it's one of the biggest failings in the Wheel of Time. And I am going to say with strong confidence that is also what Robert Jordan would say is one of the biggest failings in the Wheel of Time and why he put it in there. I think it's huge. But anyway, that's my thoughts. I have been your Amin Khan Mihail. Daniel, thanks for being here and listening to us talk about how awful and worthless particular Aes Sedai are, and how we could do better, while also not really having specific solutions to figure that out, because we don't live in the world. But
we did cover ourselves.
give yourselves hope.
Because we
guys.
didn't just complain.
We did.
We offered solution.
Correct.
They may not have been
Correct.
perfect solutions or the best solutions, but we all offered solutions to the things we
Yep.
complained about. I'm not saying be like
Indeed.
us.
So
but
solutions,
like
not complaints, guys. Give
Hey, I
critiques,
love-
not complaints.
I
Don't be a
love
dick.
this subject because it's one of those things where you go, well, yeah, well, I would. This is the joke, right? Here's the joke: two dudes driving down the road, cop pulls them over, and police officer walks up to the driver's side window, knocks on the window, and says, "You know why I pulled you over?" And the guy goes, "Oh no, officer. Why did you pull me over?" And the officer pulls out a nightstick and just BAM! Pops the dude in the face. And the guy goes, "Ah!" And he's bleeding,
I've
crying,
seen this
screaming. The cop calmly walks around to the driver's side window,
The passengers.
knocks on the window. The driver's side pulls and goes, "Yes, officer, can I help you?" And the officer, BAM! Pops him in the face with a nightstick. And the guy goes, "What did you do that for?" And he said, "I did that so that when you guys drive off later, you can't say, 'If he'd have done that to me, I would have.'" Yeah. So here's the thing. I recognize that Andrew's particularly triggered by that joke. And I love you, buddy. I tell that joke because it's real easy for us to sit back and be like, well, I would have. The fact of the matter is, and mark this down in history books, I'm about to defend the White Tower. The fact is,
Not while Andrew's drinking, Josh.
they did
Gonna
the
spit his
best that they
beer all
could
over
Start drinking as soon as somebody
with
says
the
defend White Tower.
understanding that they had at the time.
No, they didn't.
They-
You are absolutely incorrect.
No,
cannot
I will
stand
die on
this
this hill.
Josh.
They
and
did
at
the
least
best
you'll be dead
that they
because
could
they
do.
absolutely did not do the best. You are
You could die on that
absolutely
hill in the
objectively
foyer of
wrong.
WatCon.
Like,
this
I
coming
love
weekend.
you so much. And I hear you, and I understand what it is that you are trying to say, but, like, holy shit, you are
See, look.
objectively wrong.
Look.
love
I
the
say it.
absolute
I say
confidence
what is
from both of you
objectively
right now.
correct, and
Yes.
immediately I am called out by a jury of my peers.
Yes.
No, don't
Yes.
put a,
Andrew,
don't
what
put
are your
ass on
final
that shit. I
thoughts?
didn't do
No,
fuck
we already
all.
did final thoughts.
I just sat here and
Completely
listened.
done with final thoughts.
Well, that's my final thoughts from all of us here at the Black Tower. I have been your Sorbonne Mihail, Josh, Unhinged Mihail. I just said myself.
And I have been Andrew, I just found another reason to complain about another Aja from the White Tower, because now I have a complaint about the Green Aja not doing their job, and how the Yellow Aja could have at least done their job way better. So now I got solid reasons for disliking 3, at least.
Bruh, where have you been for the last, like,
Well, I mean,
couple of years that we've
It's
been doing
been-
this? Because we've been
it's
saying
been
that for
it's
years.
like they all have that generic complaint, but now I have a concrete straight line example for how the Yellow
He's got
Aja could
3
have,
that are
just like
especially
the Green
bad.
Aja could have had a massive impact on preventing death in the world. Here's a direct straight line reason how the Yellow Aja could have prevented a massive deadly impact on the world over time. But yeah,
Where
I've
were
been-
you,
I've been your
Elawaja?
Bajan Mahal,
Yeah,
apparently
where were you,
leading the battle in the
Elijah?
wrong fucking direction until now.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for being here. Thank you so much for being the most amazing listeners in the galaxy, scientifically proven. We thank you for tuning in for
But not
this
with the
week's
tools we have today.
dose
Just the
of
tools we have today.
madness.
Those are generations after
with
this
the
will happen.
yes, with the instruments and tools we have today. Thank you for tuning in for this week's dose of madness. We hope that wherever you are, you leave here just a little bit more insane than you were when you first started. We've already done outros.
Hopefully
I'm gonna
the
do it again.
yellow
I don't care.
Aja will
I'm
fix
Josh.
you. Fix that for
I'm
you.
the Soravan
Yeah.
Mahale, and there's no fixing you. You're broke. Okay, accept it. You'll find healing in acceptance.
And I've been the Almond Khan Mahale Daniel because we've already done this.
Or in rum.
Josh
Might
just
find
did
healing
it
in rum.
a couple of times. But from all of us here at the Black Tower Podcast, this has been a particularly animated episode of the Black Tower Podcast, and we've all had a great time making it. We hope that you've enjoyed watching it. Have a great morning. You're all awesome. In case we don't see you again, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
And heal well and accept.
You've been having so much trouble just fitting